Welcome to the Big World Made Small podcast for the adventure traveler. I'm thrilled you're here. My name is Jason Elkins, and in addition to being your host, I'm also a former U.S. Army paratrooper, third-generation commercial hot air balloon pilot, paramotor pilot, ex-Montana fly fishing guide, advanced open water scuba diver, and a full-time nomad that's visited more than 30 countries on 6 continents. As a seasoned adventure travel expert with a passion for creating and sharing meaningful experiences, I'm on a quest to impact the lives of adventure travelers, tour operators they rely on, and the communities that host them. Every week, I bring you exclusive interviews with fascinating adventure tourism experts who have agreed to share their personal stories, favorite destinations, and some invaluable travel insights they've picked up along the way. We'll enjoy a casual conversation, create some connections, and likely share some laughs. It's my hope that by the end of each episode, this big world will feel just a bit smaller. Let's get started, shall we? Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Big World Made Small podcast for the adventure traveler. I'm very honored today. I have a fellow podcaster here with me and marketing expert, and we're going to have an interesting conversation. We've got Chris. Chris Torres is the director of the marketing coach and tourpreneur. Chris, welcome to the show. Happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Jason. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, this will be a real treat. And before we get going, let's give our listeners just kind of the 30, 60-second elevator pitch for the marketing coach. That's kind of my understanding, something that is not really new, but kind of new to you. So what would you like our listeners to know about it?
Yeah, so it's literally me being a coach, a marketing coach, and also to some extent a business coach for mostly tourism businesses, tour operators, things like that, and helping them figure out how they should be pushing their businesses forward, their brands forward, and being recognised to try and get those direct bookings that they're all craving for, and trying to move away more from the OTAs, etc., which are still important, still an important part of it, but to try and drive more of those direct bookings for sure.
It makes sense. It seems like a great niche because actually you're also involved with the Tourpreneur group, which is a group that I'm in. And every day I see tour operators on the world are coming in. Hey, how do I get more bookings? I've been relying on them, but I'm only getting, actually just this morning, someone posted, I'm getting 95% of my business from the OTAs, which we're going to talk about. And how do I get more people to book direct so I don't have to pay those commissions? And that's a whole big conversation. So it seems like you've got a pretty good
that
niche
that could be a 3-hour conversation in its own right.
Well, I mean, you have the podcast, right? So that's what you guys talk about a lot, I know.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. And I want to get into the kind of your background as well and figure out how did you get from where you were to where you are now. Obviously your accent's a little bit different, so your story is probably a little bit different than mine. Where did it all start for you, Chris?
Yeah, as you could probably tell by the accent, I'm Scottish. I'm based in Glasgow, and I I sort of fell into marketing in a way. I left school at 16. I absolutely hated school. I didn't get on well with the teachers, do anything else. I didn't want to go to university or college because it just wasn't my thing. I just wanted to go out and earn money and work. So I left school at 16, being told by all the teachers I wouldn't amount to much, all the usual sort of stuff back then when they weren't very encouraging, put it that way. And I wanted to
What were you doing for fun before that point when you left at 16? Were there interests? School maybe was not an interest, but what were your interests up to that point?
Well, I was very good at drawing, so I used to draw a lot, line drawings and things like that. A little bit of painting, football, soccer, as you would say, doing things like that, running. No, my kids just sit in their room on their iPads all day, whereas I used to be outside playing football and doing the usual things that we all used to do back as the kids don't tend to do these days. I was doing all that, just running around, playing football and drawing. That was the main things I was doing. Watching movies as well.
Did you get accused of having maybe some of that ADD, that attention deficit disorder? Because I hear creative and active, and I can relate to those.
So. No, for sure. No, back then that wasn't really diagnosed. No, it was actually. I always remember my mother taking me to a doctor. She says no, and basically the doctor was just saying he's just finding the stuff in school not stimulating enough, and he just because he is quite a creative person, and that's all it really was. So, but yeah, ADHD is definitely on the spectrum there. That's for sure.
I've noticed in more than a handful of conversations with tour operators and working in this business for a while, there's something about this space that I think attracts people like you and I that
the kind of like the variety. This, you were mentioned the word stimulation. I mean, I think that's it for me. I've been traveling full time for 4 years, basically just stimulation seeking, to be honest, if I were to be completely honest with myself. So I get that completely. So, all right. So left school at 16. You said, man, this is too boring. I need more than this. This is driving me
Yeah.
nuts. And what did you do?
Yeah, so I actually went for a job interview at, funnily enough, I says I wasn't going to college. I went for a job interview at a place called Jordan Hill College,
Oh, wow.
who were looking for, who were looking for people who were good at art to do kids' educational books at the time. So they saw my portfolio, it was just stuff I just drew at the house and things like that. And I get a job pretty much straight away based on what I was drawing. So I used to draw like lions and tigers, all sort of using pens, so pen art, things like that. Did all that for about a year or two, and then an agency came calling, and I went to an agency, and it's been doing that ever since, working in branding and marketing and graphic design and all that sort of stuff from that point forward. Um, and while working my years through various agencies, I was working for one agency. Me and a person called Tom at that time were both sitting there pretty much running the place ourselves. We decided, why are we doing this for ourselves? Why are we not doing this for ourselves, I should say. So that's what we did. So we went off on our own and we set up, then it was called Dojo Design Studio. We set up Dojo Design Studio. That was 17 years ago. And one of our very first clients that we managed to get on board was a company called Max Adventure based in Scotland, who were a tour company. And they used a platform called Tour CMS, which was one of the very first booking platforms out at the time. Alex Bainbridge, I always say Alex Bainbridge is what got me into tourism, because his system, he was the father of booking systems for the industry. He basically got me that client, and from there it sort of snowballed. When everybody realised what websites you could build with the booking platform, everyone's going, "This is what you can do," and then we just get more and more and more of it. And quite quickly, 7 or 8 months down the line, close to a year, we had we came to a crossroads. We decided, back then we used to work with everyone and anyone, and we decided we wanted to go down a niche. We had two niches: the tourism niche, and we did a lot of work with renewable energy, so wind turbines, solar panels, things like that. And within about 2 minute conversation over a beer, I think it was, we decided, do we really want to be talking about wind turbines and solar panels for the rest of our life? Nah, no, we don't. So tourism is where we went. So
I got it completely. When you said we had two niches that we were kind of focusing on, and you mentioned the other one, I don't know how to say this, but I think my eyes kind of rolled back in the back of my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, wind turbines. So, but that's for us. I mean, I'm not saying they're not fascinating, and I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there that are doing great work. And I guess I'm curious, before you got that first tourism, like you said, Max Adventures, is that right?
Max Adventure, yeah.
Yeah. Before you got that, was tourism even on your radar? Was outdoor, I mean, you were active, that we discussed, but had you ever left Scotland? Had you ever had desires? Are you one of those kids that grew up with all the National Geographics and couldn't wait to get out of the house to go travel the world, or did it just kind of
I was
come by
quite late.
surprise?
Yeah, I was quite late when it came to travel. However, my father was actually Portuguese. He came from Madeira. So we did travel to see some of the family out in Madeira every so often. So that was probably the only place I'd really been to. But apart from that, no, I didn't really travel myself until I was in my early 20s, to be honest. No, a lot of my friends at school, they would go to Ibiza and things like that themselves and do the usual teenage party type stuff. I just wasn't interested in that type of thing, to be honest. No, they were all the sort of people who, when they got old enough, they bought cars and learned how to drive. I bought a flat. So I just wanted to be in my own flat, and I was probably a bit too sensible at times, but I wanted to have my own flat and do my own thing, and rather than having a car. So I actually wanted my own house, which I bought for, believe it or not, I bought my first flat for £36,000,
Okay.
which would maybe about $45,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was yeah. I wish you could buy a house like that for that price now, but long are those days gone.
So it sounds like you're kind of responsible. You sound like an interesting mix of, maybe we said ADD or stimulation seeking, but also you sound like you're pretty reasonably, kind of grounded as well in some of those regards.
That that took effort. When I was a bit
Oh
of a
yeah.
rascal when I was younger, to be honest. That's why I didn't get well at school, and I think a lot of teachers didn't like me at school and things like that for various reasons. And I think I just played on it because I had enough of it, so I just sort of played up to that sort of thing that they put me on, that pedestal that they put me on. So, but yeah, no, I over the years I have came a bit more grounded, but back then, yeah, I was a bit of a wild child, to be honest.
Okay. So in the marketing, I'd seen something on YouTube a few years ago. I knew that I had some interests in marketing, more the design stuff. Like, I enjoy websites. I actually enjoy putting together email automations because there's problem solving involved, and it's very stimulating for me mentally. But anyway, I remember a few years ago watching a video that someone was talking about my particular like Myers-Briggs personality style. I was kind of getting into that, and this person was saying how my personality style is drawn to marketing. We think marketing is going to be really cool because we get excited about, the visuals and the problem solving. But then she said, but the reality of marketing for a lot of people is spreadsheets and analytics and reporting and all that stuff. So you've had a lot of time in this business. I'm curious, was that part of it a struggle for you? Do you enjoy all of it, or what parts really work best for you?
I have to admit, no, I because I left school so early, everything I've done throughout my whole career has been self-taught. So I taught myself how to build websites. I taught myself how to do marketing. Obviously, I learned some things at the agencies I was at and stuff like that as well. But yeah, for me, marketing, you hit the nail on the head. No, for me, marketing is basically problem solving. No, it's like, how do we get this tour or this product or this service in front of customers, and how do we sell to make those customers want to buy that, or really really need that product or whatever. And it's just trying to figure that out. And yeah, I like both the data side of things, looking at spreadsheets, looking at the data, looking at the analytics, etc. But yeah, the creative side is where I really sort of come into it and really push it and try to figure out the ways and the stories you tell and things like that, and the way to get in front of customers. But yeah, you have to have a strong background in the data and stuff like that as well, because without that, then you don't know if the things that you're doing are working or not. So yeah, it goes hand in hand, in my opinion. I can't really separate them as such, because you can't have one without the other.
Do you have, and along the way, you've had other people that you've worked with on your team, business partners, that type of thing. Have you found yourself needing to kind of separate out some of those responsibilities to kind of focus on the areas you're most interested in so you don't get burned out? Or do you just feel like you just kind of need to be able to do all of it?
No, Uh, yeah, when I grew my team, no, I recently sold my agency, but when I had a team up 16, 17, eventually grew to at that point before I sold it. And yeah, having those different people and those different experts in each of the fields just makes your life a lot easier, and took a lot of the burden off of myself and etc. So having those sort of people there is a must. For me, the best thing I ever did was hire a business coach, back in the early days, and his name is Forbes Price. He's absolutely fantastic, and he's actually retiring this year, so we're doing something for him. But yeah, he got us to hire our first member of staff to say, oh, could we afford them? Could we not? Could we do this? And we brought in our first developer and things like that. And back then, we used to do a lot of bespoke websites. So yeah, that just snowballed, and it allowed me to be more creative rather than getting stuck in the admin side of things a lot more, and just dealing with the day-to-day business sort of management and stuff like that. So yeah.
Right. And, this conversation is very similar to what, some of our listeners are tour operators, and they're listening to this right now, and they can relate to that because oftentimes a tour operator has a certain personality style or particular interests that they're interested in. That's why they get into this business. And then, maybe, I mean, we keep saying, oh, we can help you do the stuff you don't like so you can focus on the stuff you do like and focus on the stuff that moves the needle. And obviously now you're working with clients as a coach and helping them figure out how to do that. So is that a problem you often see with tour operators? I know you've spoken with so many of them, and how do you help them kind of get focused? Because I work with some too. I've got some, they're amazing. They're so good with people. They're so outgoing and all that stuff. But man, when it comes to some of the details and some of the things. So what has your experience been?
Yeah, no, it can vary quite wildly with tour operators. I find, you'll get some who all they really want to do is run tours because that's what they love. So for people like that, if they just want to run tours, they need someone else in the business to bring in the sales and manage the day to day of the business. Because as I found quite quickly, if you try to wear all the different hats in your own business, you're not going to get anywhere fast. So you need to bring in the right people. My business coach always gave me a good piece of advice, and it was always, if you're going to hire someone who can do that particular job better than you, because it's the only way you'll move forward. So it's looking at people who can drive the business forward to allow you to do the things that you like. So yeah, some tour operators just want to go out and guide. Other tour operators just see it as a job and want to hire guides and do it that way and manage them, and don't really want to do guiding themselves. That's fine as long as you get the right people in the right team, the right guides to do what you need to do. So it just depends on what the operators wanted to do at the end of the day. Some love marketing, some don't, some hate it, some don't really even like technology, so they hate websites and don't want to even think about building websites and stuff like that. So the only way you're going to drive the business forward is to get the right people. And I think that's why OTAs have grown the way they have, because there is a lot of operators out there who just don't want to deal with marketing and don't want to deal with websites and that side of things.
That's actually, I'm going to touch on that. And before we do, what I hear you saying is there is no one size fits all type of answer. You can't just say, okay, Mr. Tour Operator or Mrs. Tour Operator, the first person you need to hire is an accountant. Just throwing out an example, or bookkeeper, because every organization is a little bit different. So if you were to write a blog post and say, oh, the key to success to being a tour operator, going from a one-man show to a successful business that's not just you creating work for yourself, is to hire X, Y, or Z, because you don't know. It depends, which is probably why it's really helpful to have a conversation with a coach, because I think a lot of people aren't really sure what they like about it. You know, you almost, I suspect a lot of your initial consultation calls are trying to dig down into, okay, well, what got you into this in the first place? What are you really excited about? What do you get up in the morning excited to go do, right?
Yeah, there's plenty of that. And the usual question you ask people is, no, where do you see yourself or see the business in 5 years' time? 99% of the people can't answer that. No, they can't even think 5 months ahead, never mind 5 years. So, yeah, you've got to have an end goal.
They're like, well, I'm trying to put together a new tour that I'm going to release in 2 months, but that's hard to think. And I get that. I'm not. Honestly, I run into some of those struggles with my business.
If they're creative, no, and a lot of tour operators are, because they want to create new tours and they're always thinking about new tours and wanting to put stuff together. But to me, that's a detriment to try and grow the business, because sometimes if you're just, and I'm guilty of it myself, to be honest, but if you're a tour operator, you might have 3 or 4 or 5 tours there that could really sell well if you put some effort and time into pushing them and promoting them, etc., rather than thinking, I'm not making enough money, what will I do? I'll create another tour, maybe that one will sell, and you just keep making more and more and more and more tours, and you're just a busy fool at the end of the day. So it's doubling down on the things that you have. You love the product you've already created, because if you love the product and you feel it's a product that people would want, or an experience that people would want, promote that. Don't just keep sort of trying to rehash or create a new wheel for every time you think something's not working, because it just takes time to embed. So
right, because if people are not seeing your tours and you just keep adding more tours, you just have more tours that people aren't seeing. So you're from the
more
market,
headache.
because I've met with tour operators that, they have 20 tours on their website, maybe more. And they're like, well, people aren't converting on the website, or we're not getting traffic to the website. And then I say, well, we talk about how many tours they have. And they say, oh, well, we're going to add 10 more over the next year. And I'm like, hold on. Let's try and sell what you got before, and also
it's not just that. So I was just going to say, it's not just that. It's if you give people too many options, they switch off.
Yes.
No, so if it's just like going to a restaurant, and we've all been there. You went to go to a restaurant and you're presented with almost like a folder menu where you've just got page after page after page of different options. And basically what that just tells me is the chef isn't confident in 1 or 2, 3 or 4 or 5 dishes of what he can do. He's just trying to cater for everyone and anyone. And that's what happens when you're on a website. If you have 20 tours, I think is too many. If you have 20, 30, 40 tours on a website, people are just going, well, what do I want to do? No, they just look at it all and they just get confused. If you can present them 6, maybe 12 tours max, and they're each different, and they each can give that particular customer enhance their lives by the experience you're going to do, because tours should basically enhance in someone's life and give them something they remember through the storytelling and things like that you do. And if you give them less options, then you'll probably find you'll sell more.
Right. It's kind of that option overload, analysis by paralysis, all these different terms that we use. For a period of my life, I worked in real estate, and it was the Zillow effect, right? Back in the day, if somebody wanted to go buy a house, they'd contact an agent, and the agent had a big book with all the listings in it, and the agent would go through and pick out 3 or 4 basically for the client and say, okay, this is what's available. And they go out in one afternoon, they drive around, they look at 3 or 4 houses, and they make a decision. And from the client's perspective, it's like, okay, those are the 3 or 4 houses. There's no need to look at anything else. But now you've got Zillow or all these apps on your phone, and your agent can set you up for a search, and they'll send you 40 listings. And then, okay, what do I do with that? And you can look at more than 3 or 4 houses a day. You can't make any decisions anyway. Or the minute you find a house, you think it's the right house, then tomorrow you get another email from Zillow saying, oh, look at these new listings. And it's kind of the same thing. I guess that's why I'm sharing that. Boy, there's so many topics there. I do want to touch on this, though, because when we were discussing a little bit about tour operators doing what they love and transitioning and growing their team, I suspect that I know, because I did this myself, is I had built kind of a one-man tour operation business at one point, and went out there and just worked my butt off and got all the great reviews and had all the great experiences, all the great memories. And I remember kind of feeling like, okay, well, can I really trust anybody else? Like, I know that I can't keep doing this all by myself, but I've worked so hard, and every review mentions Jason by name. And how do you let go of that? And I suspect there's a lot of tour operators that it's just that gets in the way of them moving forward. So how do you get past that?
Yeah. Again, you basically have to learn that. No, you do need to put your ego to one side. No, if the business, I've came across a lot of operators that person is the business. No, it's they take out the tours. You're basically buying into that person, and that's fine if that's the type of business that you want to run. Just you won't be able to scale that business as readily as you could do if it was a touroperator.com, whatever brand, rather than a personal brand, and you're driving that forward by the different guides and making the guides the star of the show. And I've always said this, when it comes to marketing a tour or any tourism business for that matter, the best way to market that is through the people within a business. So the tour guides, or whoever, even the people that works in the back room, the admin, everything else, tell their stories and get them across. Because at the end of the day, tourism is very different from buying a pair of Adidas shoes or whatever it would be. No, they buy into other people. So they want someone to take them out on tour who's going to take them on a journey and give them, storytelling element has to be really high, and they want to feel something at the end of it. They're not there to just listen to a few facts and figures and stats. That just bores people to death. And that's not going to be memorable. So by telling the stories, and whether that's through, I'm a huge fan of video and marketing, so through video, through blogs by your guides, or at least seen as if they came from your guides, if you've got a sort of marketing agency or something like writing this sort of stuff for you, get them to the fore, because at the end of the day, it's going to be your people who will sell your products to the customers. I actually wrote this in my first book, but the reason why I picked Japan when I went to Japan was off the back of one video from one tour guide. And I still remember his name, Tyler Palmer from Inside Japan Tours. We saw the video, me and my wife, and then we said, right, we're going to go to Japan and we're going to book through this company, just because of the way he came across in the video.
Wow.
And we were going to go for 2 weeks. We ended up extending our stay for a month, traveling around Japan. 2 weeks guided, 2 weeks self-guided, but they organised all the things for us. But the thing that really I love about the story is when we got to the airport, it was Tyler Palmer who met us, and he happened to be our guide. Just out of coincidence. So it was almost like you got to the airport and you met a friend and say, yeah, I saw you in a video, and you got chatting, and it just broke the ice. And that you can't really get that in any other industry apart from tourism. So
I'm curious. How did you come across that video? Was that just something in social media, YouTube, or had you already heard of the company and then saw the video?
Did a Google search? No, this was just before we decided to start a family, and my daughter's going to be 16 this year, so this was maybe about 17 years ago. And this company was using YouTube extensively. I know people now who don't have even posted up one video on YouTube, never mind 17 years ago. So they were using YouTube extensively, and one of their videos popped up, and it was through that we decided to call the company, and because there was no online booking at that point, so we decided to call the company, and they just take us through the journey of saying, "Did you know you can get to top of Mount Fuji? Do you know you can go and see a real life geisha and do that?" We're like, "Really?" But we could do all this, and that's why it made us extend our stay for a month. So.
Okay. It's very cool. And you mentioned that, yeah, there's some operators out there that haven't posted anything. And I kind of get that because actually I think I'm going to use the word brilliance. I think that's the brilliance of things like podcasts, especially if we're recording them video so for example, you and I are recording this on video. Most of our listeners probably not seeing the video, but when I'm done with this, I'm going to chop it up. I'm going to have a little clip. I'm going to put it out on LinkedIn, and somebody's going to see you on LinkedIn saying something brilliant about your business. And it's like, okay, cool. And then if you said, Jason, that was amazing, can you give me 12 more clips? I'll give you 12 more clips. And then you've got 3 months worth of video content that you can push out there. And what's great about that is it overcomes that resistance to, you tell an operator, you tell one of your clients, hey, you need to post video. You should take your phone, walk down the street and talk about something, or you should walk through the woods or along the bank of the river and talk about something. It sounds great, but who's going to do that?
Well, that's the thing, though. Everyone's got a phone. There is no excuse not to do video now. And the thing that always gets me is some operators, or a lot of operators really that I've spoken with, say, "Oh, I don't know if I want to be in front of video." And you're in front of customers. You are basically telling a story. You're taking people out. Why is that any different just because you've got a camera in your face? There is no, just be you. No, you don't need to think that you're Audrey Hepburn or whoever. No, just go out there, just record. Doesn't need to be a Hollywood blockbuster. Just go out and do it. So,
but here's the thing. That's easy for you and I to say that. We both do podcasts. We both work in marketing. We've both done it a few times. But the reality is, I think, is that there are so many, like you said, I don't want to be on camera. They might say that. Their initial response might be, "Oh, I don't really want to be on camera. I don't want to look bad. My hair or the wrinkles in it or whatever." They'll say that. But those same people, if you say, "Look, hey, why don't we just show up, have a conversation?" I know, because I've done 120 episodes now that started with, "Hey, you seem interesting. Why don't you come on my show? We'll have a conversation." They come on the show. We've got the camera going the whole time. We have an amazing conversation. And now you've got an hour worth of content that they didn't even have to think about. So the point is, whether that's on my show, your show, any show, just find somebody to interview you so you don't have to think about what to say. Maybe, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm going with my thought process.
Yeah, it's just being as natural as you can. No, some people will want this sort of, if you're, look, I always say every tour should have a tour itinerary video where you've got the guy just doing a 30 or 60-second video of saying, "You're going to come on this tour. This is what we're going to see. Here's some hidden gems and some things you've never probably seen before." That on a tour page can sell a tour massively. And that's just something that can take 60 seconds to record and put up there on YouTube and then embed the link. Again, it's the tools are there for people to use. It's just using it and just getting over yourself and just getting out there and doing it. It's not going to be perfect from the first time you try it, but the more and more you do it, the better you're going to become.
Well, and I think that the conversational aspect is what lowers the stress and the anxiety around it. So if I'm a tour operator, I've got a tour guide, I'm not going to say, "Hey, Mike, can you record a minute and a half for me talking about what to expect on the tour and what you like most about the tour?" They're not going to do that. I mean, they're going to whatever. But instead, the tour operator or somebody on the team that's good at asking questions can say, "Hey, Mike, can I spend 20 minutes with you next Tuesday afternoon, 20, 30 minutes? I just want to ask you some questions about you, what's going on here, the trips that you like the most, whatever, whatever, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike doesn't need to prepare. Mike just shows up, maybe has the right shirt on with the logo, whatever. And then you go away and you've got this stuff, you create all this content. But there's also like this idea recently I've had, I haven't really seen it, it's probably out there, is the About Us pages on websites. You know, people do, I believe, go to those pages, and sometimes they're not that stunning. They're just like, okay, you've got one person, you've got 40 people, and what am I really getting out of that? I'm not really sure, but I think people tend to go look at it just to make sure that there's not some guy that looks like he just got released from prison on the page. I'm not really sure why people go there.
But that proves my point, that people buy from people. They look at these pages because they want to see the friendly faces. Right. They want to see the smiles and things like that. And yeah, if you've just got a bland About Us page, and it needs to be good for SEO as well and all the other technical side of things. But if people go there and they just see it, and they can, I always tell operators that if you've got a team of people and you can click into the profile, you read that person's profile, and then if you've got blogs as if written by them, or maybe written by them in real life, attached to that profile, then people can start to learn each other's styles and things like that, the way they tell stories. All that, everything just helps in the long run.
Because you remember, you mentioned that people don't want to go on tours for stats and figures, and that idea that, I don't want to go on this experience so I can figure out what the elevation of the city is and when it was first settled and all this stuff. I mean, those are good things to know in case people ask, I guess, but it's about the storytelling. So if you go to an About Us page and this is Mike, he's 37 years old. He grew up in Wisconsin and has spent the last 3 summers guiding with us and has 3 children, 2 dogs, and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, that's the whole point of this conversation is, right? If people aren't looking for a tour like that, don't make your About Us page like that, because it's going to turn them off. But what if each person on your About page had a minute and a half or a minute clip from a conversation, from an interview? Get everybody on your staff to go be on a podcast and get a 1-minute clip for each one of them. And, you've got their picture and you say, hey, meet Mike. And there's a little play button and they play it. And Mike is telling a story about a client that he led to the top of a mountain one time or something, and just to create that personality. And it's not that hard. It seems overwhelming to do it if you're the tour operator listening to this right now. You're like, yeah, Jason, easy for you to say. But it can be done. Reach out to someone like Chris, myself, whatever. We can help you make it happen. But
yeah,
just so many online tools now.
Yeah, there's so many online tools now you can do that. Like Riverside, for example, that can create all these different things really easily. Now, I always remember a tour guide. It was Grayla in Iceland, actually, and one tour guide, who, again, maybe it's just my luck, but I happened to be a tour guide when I was in Iceland, and she was on the bus, but she did this video. It was all about how Viking culture and Icelandic culture and all these sort of things, and how they don't have a word for thank you. It's just not in the vocabulary. In Iceland, it's basically do it, and that's it, sort of thing. But it was just a funny little video all about that. And again, it's just seeing the personalities and the funny stories from the perspective of the guys. Just makes your brand more welcoming, and makes people want to go, I want to take out a tour with that person.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that's come up recently, I was probably in Tourpreneur, someone was talking about, the fake reviews and with AI now. And I know that as a tour operator, I can also reply to a review using AI, but that means people can write reviews using AI, and that means systems can write reviews. And there's some credibility issues that are starting to come up. It's like, okay, you've got 150 5-star reviews on TripAdvisor, but do I really believe that? And which got me thinking, social proof on your website's important. And most operators, even on my website, I've got a list of, comments and reviews that people have left. And wouldn't it be great to have a handful of video testimonials? You've got a guest that was amazed. They wrote an amazing review. They're really outgoing, and you reach out to them and say, hey, Julie, I saw your review on TripAdvisor. Gosh, it was so much fun having you guys. I got some great pictures when you were here. How do you feel about me doing a Zoom call, a Riverside call, whatever, and just chatting with you for, 10, 15 minutes about your experience, and then, share that with some of our, potential future guests. And then you've got, instead of the little excerpts along your website, the little roller of excerpts, you've got a roller of thumbnails from clients that have actually been there.
Yep. It's a great idea. And no, all a customer can say, a customer can say is no. But you'll probably find a few will say yes, and if you get a handful who will do it, that you can then post up on Reels and Shorts, but also your video, your website, etc. Then that's all going to help. No, it'll just help massively.
And you know what they'll do? If you do a short or you do a little clip of, or even a highlights reel of the conversation, they're going to share it in their social media too.
Yeah.
They're going to make sure everybody they know in their social media saw, hey, I went to Patagonia and we stayed at this amazing place, and wow, they interviewed me for their, I don't know, it doesn't have to be a podcast, but they interviewed me, and here's the clip, and isn't this cool? I mean, if they're the type of person that says yes, they're probably going to want to share it. So there's so many good things you can do that, like you said, could be just Riverside. We're recording this in a platform called Riverside. I should say there'll be a link in the show notes because I do have an affiliate link, but I've never really thought about things that way. I probably should, but anyway, so all kinds of cool things out there.
Yeah, so that's on reviews. Actually, just very quickly, it's one of my bugbears where I come across a tour operator's website. They've got amazing reviews on Google or TripAdvisor or whatever the reviews happen to be. And then they just stick the reviews in the footer of their website or a little logo somewhere that nobody can see it. It should be high up on the page. It's your trust builder. So why hide it? Why have it stuck in the footer where no one will go to? So if anyone's listening, you don't have your reviews high up on your homepage, and that, please do the so now.
At this point, if I see a website that doesn't mention reviews, I'm thinking there's a problem, right? But the truth is, you're right. Because I look at a lot of websites as I communicate with people and do some of the stuff, and I'll look at their website and I'm like, okay, websites I see nothing about reviews. Then I'll hop over, I'll Google it and get Google reviews, TripAdvisor reviews. And I'm like, wow, they've got 374 5-star reviews. And there's no mention of TripAdvisor anywhere on their website. And maybe it's because they've got this concern about OTAs, or, oh, well, if I link to TripAdvisor, if I mention TripAdvisor, most people, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, but if I'm already on your website and I see a scroller that says you has a trust index of 5.0 and you've got 700 5-star reviews, and I see a few excerpts and maybe even a video of a client, I'm probably not going to TripAdvisor. You probably don't need to worry too much about that. I'm probably sold. I'm ready. I'm not leaving this website. I don't know. Do you think it's
true? It's true. No, I agree with that. No, there's two ways you can look at it. So if someone's on a website and they see all those videos and great reviews and everything else, they're probably going to book direct. If they do see a TripAdvisor badge and they go off, there's maybe an issue that you're not explaining on your website, your terms and conditions or your refund policy or anything like that, because they know they can go to TripAdvisor and it would be an issue. If they ask for a refund or something happens, they'll just get their money back. And that's what it's the same with Booking.com and all the others. They all do similar things. But if someone's booking on TripAdvisor or any OTA after being on your website, I would start to question why have they done? Yeah, why have they done that? It's probably because you never answered the question on the website by what your refund policy was, your cancellation policy, and things like that. So you really need to make all that clear.
But also, and because the other mistake some people make, that's almost the opposite mistake, is they're very proud of their TripAdvisor reviews. And they almost tell people, go look at us on TripAdvisor. You don't need to do that. Don't say we're the number 2 operator in Arusha. Read our reviews on TripAdvisor. You don't need to use those little widgets that TripAdvisor will give you. You can just take a screenshot, whatever. Yeah, we're number 2. Here's
there's plugins excerpts out there that allow you to pull them in and things like that. No, you don't need to, use those stuff. So yeah.
But you don't want to send them to TripAdvisor, because you're right. They go to TripAdvisor. There's a lot of distractions because sometimes you go to an operator's page on TripAdvisor, and then you see you might also like, or that similar experiences or whatever, and you can lose them that way. So
yeah, for sure. No, the sort of rule of thumb that I give is if a customer has left, or if a customer has booked through an OTA, because that's a platform that they've they trust. Get them to leave the review on the OTA. If they've booked direct, always use Google. That's basically the rule that I always say. And so and if you are more heavily reliant on OTAs, then start to migrate people towards to get more onto Google as well. Because if you do more on Google, do more reviews on Google, that's just going to help your SEO and do all the other things going forward. So.
Right. So you're speaking specifically to like after they've had the experience. They booked through Viator or whatever. So you might encourage the client to go leave a review on Viator, as opposed to if maybe they book direct, then go a different route. And I think that's actually something else that I saw recently. Someone was asking, and they said, "Oh, we've got all these reviews on TripAdvisor, but we don't really have anything on Google." And the person was, "I'm afraid to ask them to leave 2 reviews." And I think something that I learned a long time ago was you give them an option, say, look, well, first of all, you probably send them an email and say, how is your experience? 0 to 5, 0 to 5 stars. And if they select anything less than 5, it takes them to a page where they can tell you about it. Yep. And if they select 5, it takes them to a page where it's like, if you like Google, here's the link to leave a review for Google. If you like TripAdvisor, here's a link to TripAdvisor. If you like, give them the option, because like some people, like some of these platforms, you have to get a user account or whatever. You got to, set up a name, and people are just like, I leave Google reviews all the time. It's easy for me, so I'm probably going to go do that. So give them a few options, and then
let them decide.
Let them decide.
On reviews, just briefly, you were talking about sort of try to make them personal to the brand and things like that. If you're a guide and you're out there asking for every guide should be asking for a review at the end of the experience, and they can even make fun of it and say, hey, look, I'd love you to leave me a review. And again, make light of it. If my boss sees me, I've got many reviews and you've named me in it, I might get a wage rise or something. I know, just make light of it. Always try to make sure that the person leaves a review with the guide's name in and stuff, because you were talking about AI and all these different things that may be writing reviews. When it looks like they're naming people and you're mentioning places that you've been and seen and things like that, then that's going to come across as more genuine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a good way to keep your guides engaged. You're asking the guides to make an effort to get the clients to use their name, but also the guides, I've been a guide. I've done that. And if I do a guide trip for a company and then later on my client posts a review on their website and mentions, wow, Jason was great, it was so much fun, that keeps them engaged. Engaged as well. So I think that's really, really good advice. What do you think is the biggest? I'm not going to ask you what's the biggest challenge with AI, because that's 14 more episodes that we could do. And you're already discussing it. And I actually have another show that I'm co-hosting. We talk about AI stuff as well. So we won't get into that too much. Let's talk about this though. Your family, because you mentioned that you went to Japan before your daughter was born, I believe. Yep. Is your daughter, the rest of your family, is everybody enthusiastic about this travel stuff? Are you traveling very often to work with clients? Because I know you do the you're not a tour operator, but you deal with a lot of tour operators, and I suspect you travel a bit.
Yeah, I travel quite a bit. So I've got a daughter, Heather, who's going to be 16 actually in August, so not that far away. My son Kyle, who's 9. So a bit of an age difference in between them. We decided to have a little gap. My wife is an architect, Maggie, so she's an architect, but she decided to basically work on her own or leave her job just because I was traveling so much to help look after the family and stuff like that. So she did a massive thing by doing that. And yeah, I travel a lot. I speak at conferences. I run events through Tourpreneur. I travel to run workshops and coaching sort of sessions and things like that. So I do a lot of that. And it tends to be heavy at the start of the year and the end of the year. That sort of September, October time, all the way through to sort of February, March. It's usually that sort of 6-month period is when it's the busiest. And yeah, I'm going to be in Charleston actually in November for a big event called Tour Week that we're running. But so I do travel a bit, and it's just nothing. As much as we do all these things online, and obviously we had the pandemic, that's all we could do with things online. there's nothing better than meeting people face to face and having good conversations with them, sharing a beer with them, and just having those conversations, because a lot can come out of them. And that's why I love these events and doing those sort of events and speaking at events, because you'll never get the true feeling of what someone's feeling about their business unless you actually see their whites of their eyes, and probably get them a little bit drunk and a little bit more truthful. But
Well, it's the video stuff is about as close as you can get, but it's still not quite the same, right? And like you said, there's that casual element of, not feeling like you're on a business call per se. You're just sitting there having a beer around a group of people, and you might have 7 or 8 people in a group, and your conversation hits it off with one person because they're like, wow, this is something I'm struggling with in my business. And it starts, maybe it's reviews, maybe you say, well, do you mention the reviews on your website, whatever? And the conversation can go just like it does, but it can extend into other topics and subjects. And that's pretty cool. Do your kids travel with you at all? Have they historically?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
you
they do.
mentioned
They
your
do.
daughter's 16, so maybe she's at the
No, they
point
do.
where
They do. Anytime we go on a family holiday to Portugal, we go to a lot, obviously, because I got family in Lisbon and Madeira. So go to Portugal a lot, and we were in Croatia last year. First time in Croatia, absolutely loved Dubrovnik. Thought it was a stunning place. So we do travel, at least one big holiday every year with them and stuff like that. So, but yeah, more than I did. I never did that when I was a kid. My parents couldn't afford it at the time, really, to be honest. So we try to travel with them as much as possible when we can.
I know as a parent, we sometimes maybe want things for our kids, but we don't always want to say what we want for our kids because we want them to choose their own path. So I'm just curious though, if I were to ask you, Heather, and you said, was it Kyle? Your
Kyle,
son?
yeah,
Kyle.
yeah.
Do you envision either one of them going the tourism route, the travel route? Would you discourage them from it, encourage them, or what's your philosophy around that?
No, I wouldn't discourage them. Heather's quite a creative as well. She's a really good artist and stuff like that as well. So she's probably going to go down more a creative route. She actually likes drama and stuff like that. She says that she maybe wants to be a director. So she's looking to go down that sort of route. My brother-in-law happens to be a film director and music video director and stuff like that. So she's trying to learn a few things from him as well. So she's probably going to go down that route. Kyle, Heather's one of these people. She's got a mature head. I've not got any worries about Heather. Kyle, on the other hand, I think he's going to be like me when I was younger. I can already see it. So I think we're going to have some issues with him going forward. To be honest, all he wants to do is. He wants to be a YouTuber, or and this is a God's honest truth, he loves Lamborghinis, and he says he wants to deliver enough pizzas to buy a Lamborghini. So that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, I hear some of you. I actually hear some of me when you describe that. Definitely my son. Oh my goodness, my son just turned 18, and yeah, he's ambitious, but kind of some out there stuff. So that's it's very, very cool. So, but knowing what you know about the tourism business and stuff like that, let's say somebody else's kid is listening to this. What advice would you give for somebody that's thinking about going to tourism, or what should they consider that might not be obvious to them, or even marketing?
No, tourism's a great industry to be in. No, it's the people will always want to travel, so it's one of those industries, unless something major happens in the world. But people always want to travel, no matter what. So they'll always want to visit new destinations and do different things. So travel is not going away, and it's only going to grow year after year after year. And it's just where you go to and the destinations you go to may change, and they change all the time and stuff like that. So if you want to go into tourism, do it. It's a great industry. The only thing I would say is if you're wanting to run tours, for example, don't just try to copy. There's plenty of tours of the Vatican. There's plenty of Rome tours of the Colosseum and things like that. Try to do something that's different, that's not out there. Well, if you've got a passion, I've got a passion, you can probably tell by my background for those that are watching the video. I've got a passion for movies and films, and I collect film memorabilia. If there was someone who did tours to various movie location sites and things like that, and stuff that you maybe never really know were there, you probably walk past all the time, things like that, I would be interested in, because that's my passion. And trying to do something that's a bit different from your generic type tours, that's what will make you stand out, and that's what will make people want to take out those experiences, rather than being you do a search on Viator for Rome tours and about 6,000 come up, and no one's going to look through 6,000 tours. So try to do something that's completely unique. Try to do something that's different. And in this day and age, being truly unique is hard, but you can be unique if it's true to what your passions are and what you love yourself. And if that comes across when you're delivering those experiences, if it's something you really love and it's not, as I say, just reading out stats and it's a job, basically.
Do you think that there are, I should give a tourism analogy or reference, maybe it's an analogy, but like when I did real estate for a while, which I hated, by the way, it was like gouging my eyeballs out with ice picks, but I was, trying to keep family happy. But what I remembered is a lot of people would show up and, new people showing up to do real estate. And I love houses. I like houses. Why'd you get into real estate? I love houses, which I thought was weird, to be honest with you. Yeah. I know we talked about flats and the great deal you got on your flat when you were young, but for me, the only thing I enjoyed about the real estate was the people part. The houses I couldn't care less about. But it's kind of the same thing with tourism. So where I'm going with this is you might get people that, I want to be a backcountry guide because I like to be outdoors. Or I want to be, I don't know, it could be everything from being an airline flight attendant because I like to travel, or just getting into tourism because you like to travel. I'm not sure that's enough. What do you think?
It's not enough. No, it's really got to be a passion. No, I've unless it's something you truly want to do, or you truly. Sometimes you do need to just do something to pay the bills. And that's just the nature of, of living the life that you live, to buy a house and look after kids. And that is what happens. No, it's the reason why I sold my agency just back in February there, is because I got, after 17 years of running it, I just recently turned 50. So maybe I'm going through a midlife crisis. I have no idea. But I just thought, I've been working in marketing agencies and design agencies, etc., for over 34 years, because when I left school at 16, and I just thought, I've had enough. No, I've done my time. I've enjoyed doing it. I love the creative side. I've done all that side of things. And I still love marketing. I still love the creative side of it. I just wasn't enjoying the running of a business and the admin and all the other things. Because although I brought more and more people in to do the certain things to grow the business and to bring on those experts, to make those SEO experts, content writers, all that sort of stuff, I just found myself being less and less involved, which was great. It gave me more time with the family, but my creative outlet wasn't being served because I was basically doing more and more admin. So I ended up after 17 years selling that agency, and now I'm doing some hobbies as well as doing the marketing coaching and stuff like that. I'm trying to find a balance of with family, doing hobbies, as well as still coaching and helping the businesses that I love, and still being that sort of creative side. So I'm just trying to get more into the creative side and doing things, sort of stepping back into maybe where I started, almost starting again, but now with all that wisdom of the last 30 odd years, being able to know what to do going forward, and should work out.
Have you put something in place to keep yourself from getting back into it? Because here's what I'm thinking, and you can tell us as much as you want, but okay, you did the agency thing, you did all kinds of SEO, web design, analytics, ads, all this stuff that your team did. And you're like, okay, I'm done with that. And now I'm going to coach people on how they can improve their marketing. And I can imagine client calls with you. Hey, Chris, I need a new website. Well, okay, I can do the website for you. Okay, I can help you with the Google ads. And before you know it, I can imagine
not a chance.
How do you prevent that? Just because your strength and your will, or did the company you sold the business to you said, "Hey, no compete clause. I am not doing websites."
There is that, yeah. Don't get me wrong. There is a non-compete clause for about 18 months or something like that, so I can't do anything like that. But
that's good.
It's just because I was done with that. I was actually just asked the other day, "Could you help us build a website?" Or
I'm sure you get asked a lot.
I do get asked a lot, and I just says, TMA, a tourism marketing agency, great agency I used to own, go and ask them. I do not want to be building websites. Now, I love creating the strategies, coming up with the storytelling elements, and giving that to the operators of the businesses that I'm helping, and say, either you do this and here's how you can implement all these things, or take it to an agency and get them to implement it as well. Because what I tend to find is a lot of agencies will do the absolute basics. They don't give you I would do like a 12-month plan, quite in-depth detail and stuff like that, and say, look, although you might not be able to do everything in this is what I believe it will take to grow your business. Because I always say, and especially in today's market, is anyone who's thinking about running a tourism business, or any business for that matter. So let's just say if you're going to run a tour operator business, don't start out or have the mindset of running a tour operator business. You have to have the mindset of becoming a media company, just because of the amount of things that you have to put out there: videos, content, social posts, all the stuff that's happening with AI. There's so many things you need to get out there to be seen now, and get through all that brand and marketing clutter, that you basically have to become a marketing company yourself, or a media company. So become a media company, or have the media company mindset that just happens to sell food tours, or happens to sell adventure tours, or whatever that would be. You need to have that mindset, because without that in today's world, you're not going to be able to grow the business as much as you want. And agencies should be able to help you with that and things like that as well. But just make sure that they give you a strategy that allows you to become the business you want to become going forward.
That makes a lot of sense, because I also, because I've had conversations like this as well, that it's like you run across someone and they're thinking, this is my need. I need to refresh my website. I need to get a new reservation system. I need to have a podcast, whatever it is. They're oftentimes, by the time they meet with a freelancer or an agency, they kind of already have in their head what they need, probably because they read so much in social media, maybe even in the Tourpreneur group,
They've seen the next shiny thing. It's like, right, creating new tours. They think, oh, I need to do this. My website's not working, so I need to get a new website. And most of the time, it could just be a quick fix, and that's it. So
yeah, so I get it from the agency's perspective, because you mentioned some agencies don't necessarily spend a lot of time on the strategy part. They're maybe pretty good at implementing, and maybe they've become that way because most of the time when their client shows up, their client says, I want an email drip. I wanted this. And the agency is like, okay, we can do that. And they do that. But you are doing something interesting. And I know, because last time I spoke with you, I went over and took a look at your website. I think we should touch on this, about basically coming up with a strategy plan. So what would you like our listeners to know about this cool thing that you have on your website?
yeah, so I've taken my 30 odd years of knowledge, my books and strategies that I've created in the past, and the frameworks that I tend to follow myself, and I've uploaded them into ChatGPT to create like a bot, as it were, or an agent. And I've got a web face into it. I call it the strategy builder. It's on my website, and it's an AI tool that shall allow you to input the tours that you want to promote, a bit of information about the business, etc., and it will create you. And I can't believe how good it actually generates this. To be honest, it just shows you how much AI has changed over the last 18 months. But it'll create you a 60+ page strategy document with a 12-month strategy on ads, strategy on social media, etc., following your brand voice, and the products, etc., that you're trying to experience, you're trying to promote. It will look at all that and create, using the frameworks from my book, Lookers into Bookers. It will take all that and create that strategy document for you, and then give you a bit at the end to say, okay, this is a lot of information. I understand that. It's giving you everything I think you need to do over the next 12 months. But if you're only going to focus on certain things, here's what to focus on the next 3 months. And it gives you that as well at the end.
So they could, in theory, then take that either to the company you used to own that you recommend, but also they could bring it to me. They could take it to somebody else and say, hey, so which is great for someone like myself, or someone like, the past you, somebody comes and they have a reason why they want to do this, and they've thought it out, and it's, that's it's pretty cool. One thing that I've come across is there's so much talk about how AI, and so we're going to touch on AI a little bit, but I think there's a lot of people out there that have not used AI, that the message they keep hearing is, you can do everything with AI. You can build a free website with AI. You can create a podcast with AI. You can create viral content with AI. And if you haven't actually sat down and figured out how to do any of that, it almost sounds like it's like no work. So when you say I took my 30 years and built this AI chatbot with ChatGPT, somebody's listening to this thinking, oh, well, that took Chris no time whatsoever. It's just another ChatGPT thing that, that why would I don't even remember how your pricing works or plans or whatever. We can discuss that if you want, but it's on your website. But sometimes people think, oh, well, does it have value because it's using AI? But, well, what's your response? I don't know where I'm
No,
going with this.
to be, I'm in a camp. I've been using different AI tools for many years, basically since it started really sort of coming to the fore. And there's a lot of good tools out there, but there's a lot of bad tools out there. I think some operators probably listening to this, and some other people or any business listening to this, have probably been burned by a few AI tools. Now, for marketing, there's going to be a lot that AI will do going forward. In the next 18 months, the landscape's going to change massively. But there's still things out there at this moment in time. It still does okay, but not well enough. No, there's still not things out there that can manage your ads as well as a human being. There's still nothing out there that can build a website, a good enough website, and have it all connected to WordPress, for example. No, there's nothing really out there that does all that well at this moment in time. It will come, but it's not there yet. You still need a strong human element to give it the right prompts and do all the right things, and then you still need to do a lot of refinement. It's great at writing content, but you still need to go in and refine it, fact check it, do all these things as well. Now, unless you're going to spend, though I spent weeks and weeks and weeks training my AI agent to learn my thought process, learn my frameworks, and learn all the stuff that I do to get to a stage where I think it actually does a really good, damn fine job at creating a strategy that I would create. So if you put in the time and effort, it can help you. But where AI can help a lot of operators is through automation in the background, through those admin tasks. Again, to give you an example, in the past, if I was working with a business that had, say, 10 staff, I would send them a brand questionnaire. Each of them would have to fill out this questionnaire individually without conferring, so I can get everybody's thoughts on what the business was and what they thought the business was, etc., to see if there's any disconnects and connections and likes, etc. I would spend a good week or two manually going through all that and figuring things out. Now I can just upload all that into AI and it tells me what everyone thinks and where's the disconnects and the likes. So I can do that within an hour now, probably less than that, to figure all that sort of stuff out. So AI is great. If you can do things in the background, it's going to speed up your own processes so you have more time to deliver more tours or serve your customers or get in more sales and things like that. That's a good thing. So the manual stuff, that's what AI can really excel. But for a lot of the marketing things at this moment in time, there is some good ones out there, but it's not quite got, in my opinion, got to the stage where you could just forget it and leave it and let it run and do its own thing, post up on social media and all that. It's just not there yet, in my opinion.
Right. It's an interesting. So people are hearing the message: build a free website in minutes, free with AI. That's the messaging they're getting. And then they talk to someone and say, I need a new website. And the freelancer or the agency says, well, we charge, $3,000, $5,000, $7,000 for a website. And the operator is like, holy cow, I thought if I can do it myself for free with AI, why am I going to pay you $3,000 to $5,000 to do it? But I think and then, so but they hire you anyway, and then you're doing it. And I'm going to ChatGPT asking it, oh geez, I'm having a problem figuring out how to do a sticky frame or what a sticky thing on the website. So I'm using AI to help get me along and help me produce a better website. And then I had a client not too long ago. He's like, how did you come up with this? And I said, well, I actually did some research on AI. And the client's, well, I'm not paying you to use AI. And I'm like, well, if you're not paying me to use AI, you're going to get a lot lower product, because the AI is such a tool that I think what I'm saying is I feel like you can get a much better website now for $3,000 or $5,000 than you could back then, because your developer, your designer is using AI to take it to that next level. It's still taking them time. They're still probably putting in just as much time and effort. You're just getting a much better result. Am
Yep.
I?
No,
What do you think?
I used AI to build, not build some websites, but do things like those sticky floating buttons on a page and things like that, because it will give you the code to do it, and the CSS and HTML. It'll just give you all that. I've used it in the past myself. No, my agency, we actually just, we used to build a lot of bespoke websites for a long, long time, back when you could charge 20 grand for a website and things like that, which you just can't get unless you're building a bespoke booking platform, which is silly these days. But anyway, no, we used a $80 theme. Now that's what my agency used, and it allowed us to deploy websites quickly. The amount of money we charged was for manually migrating content and getting the website and the pages set up and things like that, not for the actual website build itself. It was actually getting all the content together and the pages together and making sure it was optimized and things. That is basically what you were paying for now, rather than the actual website build.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that AI does help with some of that. They can give you some wireframes and frames, and then of course once somebody's built a few websites, they start to kind of develop their own little library of things, so they can go a little bit quicker. So anyway, Chris, we've discussed a lot. We could keep going all day on many different topics, and I want to be respectful of our listeners' time as well. We just gave them a lot of great stuff. Chris, what else? What did I forget to ask you, or what do you want to make sure that our listeners do here before we wrap up?
Yeah, the sort of last thing, obviously, I've got the marketing coach, but I also run a community of 20,000 tour operators called Tourpreneur. We have a free Facebook group called, which you can search on Facebook, called Tourpreneur. And it's where operators, guides, whoever can just jump on, ask advice, see the podcasts that we're posting up. So there's a lot of free content on there. And it's just although me, another guy called Peter Syme, and another one called Mitch Bach, we, partners in Tourpreneur, we run events, etc. We've actually got an event happening in Charleston in November called Tour Week. So we're running that just now, and that's going to bring lots of different tour operators and guides together to then hopefully learn from each other and get business together by sort of business development. So we're doing that, but the community is a great place to start off with. It's a free community. You can jump on, get advice from it, and that's probably the first place to start.
I agree. And we're going to have the links both to the marketing coach, to your website, and I'll put in something for Tourpreneur as well, because I think it's a great group. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really stumble across it until fairly recently. And it was actually a guest that I had on the podcast. And I asked him, he runs an operation in Africa. I said, how did you find me? How did you connect with me? Well, and he said, well, one of your previous guests had shared their episode in this Tourpreneur group, and I saw it, and that's, how I connected with you. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I went over and joined, and there's a lot of great conversations going on. There's a lot of great resources, but I think even if you just kind of watch the feed, just the things that come up in the feed, it gets the juices flowing. These conversations we're having earlier today about, reviews and OTAs and these different things. Those are conversations that are happening in the group. So,
and all the operators are helping each other. It's not necessarily, myself or anything jumping on. We do, and we answer questions, etc. But everyone's helping each other out. It's a great community to be in.
I read one this morning before we got on here. Somebody asked a question about something, and then 5 or 6 different operators all chimed in, and it was actually about reviews. It was the person that mentioned that they had a bunch of TripAdvisor reviews, but they thought they should get some Google reviews, and how do they do that without diluting the TripAdvisor reviews and all this? And 5 or 6 other operators had already jumped in real quickly and shared what they were doing. So if you don't want to spend a dime on any of this stuff, at least just go join the group, because you'll get a lot of free support and community, which I think community is a challenge, because a lot of operators work small teams, or maybe one person teams. And we've got weird work schedules, and we don't always have colleagues sitting next to us to chat with. So anyway, I think it's a great resource. So
thank you,
Chris. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking time to come on here and share some of your story and some tips and pointers. A lot of the episodes are, for anybody that's listening, that's like, hey, Jason, you're usually talking more about tours and places and this and that. This was a slightly different bent. Obviously, the people that work in this industry are benefiting from it. But honestly, I think anybody that works in any industry can benefit from a lot of the conversation we were just having today. So thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
No, thank you, Jason. Appreciate you asking me on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, be fun. Let's do it again sometime soon. Bye, Chris.
Bye.
I trust you enjoyed listening to the conversation as much as I enjoyed recording it. If you're enjoying the Big World Made Small podcast, please take a moment to tell the algorithm by subscribing and posting a review so that others can benefit as well. I also invite you to take a quick trip over to bigworldmadesmall.com and join our private adventure travel community to receive new episode notifications, special access to our guest experts, and perhaps even some exclusive partner offers that we haven't discussed on the podcast. I'll publish another episode soon. Until then, keep exploring. It's the best way to make a big world feel just a bit smaller.